Oh, this stuff is so good.
I got 2 more months on
No,
here.
not
Train me now.
because I think it'll get you a cold if you've got coughing and all
It
that.
is really, really good.
Press that once and then
Ah,
press the second
It's a
time.
clear.
Press
Yeah,
it once
but I
for
like
blank.
these people's
Fire it
shirts.
up. We only got
I've
one
had their
minute.
shakes before, yeah, they're good. But that's 20 grams of protein, that's a lot.
And not very many calories.
Take like that. 1 minute.
Good.
Maybe she'll roll in here on the radar. See, I told y'all she was gonna come in. We fired up the recorder and I said, I'm gonna give you 1 minute. See it?
Hi, guys.
How are you?
I knew you wasn't gonna let me down.
You haven't made it there yet? Come on now.
Haven't got the gold.
Are you gonna do the senior tour when you retire?
Right.
That was Kevin's, plan. Back when he used to golf all the time, and thank God he got over it.
Right. No, those guys are still good.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit on TV. I was like, yeah,
They're still
no, still can't do
Yeah, even
that.
though they're seniors, they're good. That's what he decided he was gonna do in his retirement, but we're over all that now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 7 o'clock by my watch. So we're going to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the August edition of the Conway Planning Commission. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the July 16th minutes. Commissioners, I trust you've all received a copy of the minutes in your packets and have read them prior to tonight. Is there any discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
There's the motion to approve has been seconded. All in favor before the train? Aye. Any opposition? Motion passes. All right. Next item on the agenda is the report from the subdivision committee.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We met as a committee to review 3 items today. The first one being the Zion replat preliminary plat extension, extending that approval 1 year to 8/2/19. That was approved unanimously. The second one was the Northview Estates PUD preliminary plat extension. That one is extended 1 year from April 17th. So that will expire April 17th, 2019. That was approved unanimously. The last one was the preliminary approval for the Winterbrook Phase 3, and that was approved unanimously as well. No issues, and then we adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item on our agenda is the public hearings. And the first order of business there is, flip over there. Item D1, request for conditional use permit. So before I do that, I need to read you guys the rules here. The Conway Planning Commission makes recommendations to the City Council on public hearing items. The City Council will make the final decision on these items using Planning Commission recommendations as a guide. Items reviewed at tonight's Planning Commission may be considered at the City Council, by the City Council, as early as August 28th, 2018. Items not approved by the Planning Commission may be appealed to the City Council within 30 days after Planning Commission denial. If an item is appealed to the City Council, a public notice sign will be placed on the property at least 7 days prior to City Council meeting, and a public notice will be placed on the city's website, www.cityofconway.org. So, as we review these items, we'll take both sides of the argument here, but we'll give the first speaker on each side 10 minutes, and each additional speaker on each side 2 minutes. So the first person 4 will get 10 minutes, and each subsequent person will get 2. And likewise, the first person to speak against each item will get 10, and each subsequent person will get 2. All right, so back to the order of business. Request for conditional use permit, 615 Faulkner Street. Robinson Center Church of Christ request for conditional use permit to allow religious activities in the R2A for property located at 615 Faulkner. Is there someone to speak for this? Thank you, sir. If you approach the microphone and state your name and address, please.
Good evening. I'm Steve Norris. My address is 2018 Caldwell Street. I am also the preaching minister of the Robinson Center Church. We bought that property a little over a year ago. Has been for several years, a quadplex for renters in the big white house. We were approached and asked if we were interested to buy it. We bought it. We are intending to get out of the rental business as soon as we can. Didn't want to go down the road of trying to get renters to move out. And so the plan is to just close down each of the 4 sections as renters move out. The reason right now that I'm asking for, we're pursuing a conditional use permit, is that we had other things before the Historic District Commission and just sort of throwing this in at the same time. The church, obviously over the last several years, has bought a few extra lots, and those have all been applied for and approved for a conditional use permit. And so we're simply wanting that conditional use permit for this lot and just applying at this time because it's kind of an easy, convenient time. There's one possible change that might be made on that property. We're trying to find a good location for a carport that we're trying to tuck out of the way so it can't be seen. And the backyard of that house with access to our parking lot is a good option for us. And so that's what's kind of throwing this all together. I field any questions, but that's about all I've got to say about it.
All right, any questions for him?
So what do you envision the use of the lot or the existing structure to be?
My vision for it is that we may want down the road to look at taking the old house back to its original footprint and renovating it, restoring it, and possibly using it for our offices. That's not a set plan, but that is a possible plan. The main reason we purchased it is simply because it is right up against our property. We were approached, so we took the opportunity.
And so, Brian, is a conditional use permit for religious activities required if they're just wanting to possibly use it for an office space? The only other use I saw on here listed was a spot to park their passenger van. I don't like to give conditional use permits just to give conditional use permits.
It's zoned R2A duplex,
Yep.
which does not allow offices by right. You can get a conditional use for restricted office, but religious activity would include all those functions that would normally be at a church. So in order to use it for offices, they would need that conditional use permit. Also, parking, I mean, it's just a kind of minor parking, but it's the church bus thing. It's still being used in support of the church, basically. So therefore, they need a conditional use permit for that also. But for the offices, since it's duplex zone, they need to step it up a notch and get that conditional use for the full-out church activities.
Okay. That's all I have. Sorry.
Anybody else?
I was just going to ask a question on the metal covering. You said you're looking at putting that in the back of a.
Well, we're actually looking at 2 locations, but that was one of the locations. And if the Historic District Commission sees that as what they would be preferred for their location, then our assumption was that then in order to do that, we would probably have to have a conditional use permit in order to proceed in that direction.
What's your other choice?
The other choice is in a new parking lot that is between Faulkner and Grove Street.
Okay.
The position would be sort of behind the, what's the building there?
Bonds office.
Yeah, the bail bonds office there. We're trying to find a way to kind of tuck it back where it's not seen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else to speak in favor of this item? Seeing that there is none, is there anybody to speak in opposition? Seeing that there is none, I'll bring this item back into committee. Commissioners, what say you?
The Historic District Commission is going to put a lot of requirements and restrictions on here, seeing it is a part of their purview. Outside of that, I don't see any issues with what's being requested.
Motion to approve.
Second.
With the suggested conditions on page 19?
Suggested conditions, yes.
There's a motion on the floor to approve with the suggested conditions here on page 19, which are the residents may not be demolished without seeking historic district commission approval. Large passenger van parking must be at the rear of the property. Has been seconded. Any further discussion? All right, I'll call this to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on. Item 2 on the agenda, request to rezone A1 to R1 Winterbrook Phase 3. Can I speak tonight? Rush Howe Development request to rezone from A1 to R1 property north of Winterbrook Phase 2 and south of Irby Drive.
Hello, I'm Bobby French. I'm representing Rush Howe Development. They're just trying to rezone to R1 to continue the Winterbrook subdivision there. Gonna be pretty much just what's to the south, just a continuation of what they've done so far. Be glad to answer any questions if y'all have any.
Any questions for Bobby? Thank you, sir. Anybody to speak in favor of this? Anyone to speak in opposition?
There's a gentleman there. I don't know.
You can come up.
If you have a question, you can come and ask. It doesn't necessarily have to be in opposition. We'll take a question.
I live in St. John's, which
Yes,
is right up next to this. My question is, where will the entrance and exits be to this third phase?
Okay, can I have your name and address?
Mary Humphreys, 1745 Penny.
Okay.
You got that plan, Bobby?
It'll be one on Irby and then Bison, and then the two roads that come up from the south.
And we can't see it from this one.
Winterbrook and Briley that are already there will continue on.
He's got a copy right there beside you.
Oh, okay.
So that's it. There's Irby. There's the Bison, the one that will continue in from St. John's into it. And then the other streets are already part of, phase 2 is connected to it.
Okay, so
It's the,
Sequence.
She's asking what your streets go in.
so it would have to be right here.
So it goes up on the Irby there. One of them connects into St. John's. The other
say?
Bison.
I don't know.
Stuff down on the other side of it.
all right, so
There it is.
For that continuance to the south of it.
that's fine.
It's on page 19 or something. Hang on, 16.
Did I answer her question?
C1.
Think so?
Yeah, 16, 17.
Is there anyone else to speak in opposition or any further questions?
Oh, yeah, they stuck it in the wrong spot.
All right, seeing none, I'll call this into commission. Commissioners, what say you?
Part of this is what we discussed in the preliminary subdivision committee. I didn't have any issues with it there. I see it as a continuance of the usage of the adjoining land, so I see no issues.
Echo.
Yeah, I think the one thing we should call out is just that they're going to extend, we did note that they're going to extend Bison into the other, into St. John's. I'll make that into the public, note into the public hearing here. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Did we offer any opposition?
Yeah.
We did?
And,
Okay, I must have zoned
She
out.
just had a question, but no other option.
yep.
I'll
Second.
Oh,
Go ahead, sorry.
I'll second it.
There's a motion on the floor by Brandon, has been seconded by Wendy. Any other discussion? Nope. I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda is item D4, request to rezone from R1 to R2, 1290.
You skipped D3.
Oh, I did. My bad. I did.
Yep.
Absolutely, I did. Thank you, guys. Request to rezone from A1 to R1 Free Alden Holden subdivision. I apologize. Is there anyone to speak in favor of this? I apologize, sir. I'm in a haste up here.
Larry Frowden Hogan, 1595 Tri-Sun. They own the 2 1-acre tracts right in the corner of Bill Lucy and Tri-Sun, and just wanted to rezone it to residential.
Any questions for Mr. Friaudenhoven? All right, thank you, sir. Anybody else to speak in favor of this? Anybody to speak in opposition? All right, we'll call this one back into commission. Easy crowd. Commissioners?
Motion to, oh, I'll second it.
There you go.
Who made the motion? Arthur? And Ann seconded? Any discussion? It's pretty straightforward. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Rockin' right along.
Starting to scare me a little.
Afraid I'm putting them to sleep. Request to rezone from R1 to R2, 1295 East German Lane. I was excited to get to this one. I don't know why, but I just was. Anybody speak in favor?
My name's Chris Soller, and I live at 1513 East Sherman Lane. I'm the listing agent on the property for speaking on behalf of Mr. Rain Lackey. The reason why we think this property should be rezoned is, you know, it's kind of the trend of everything on East Sherman is kind of going towards more duplexes and everything. We've got the Monexes, if y'all drove down through there. They got their big signs over there with Miss Martin. You've got Raymond Jr. and Mary Louise Hogue, which I'm working with them, and they've got the property at 1290 East Sherman. They've got theirs up for sale, where I'm working with them on that. Also, we got Mr. Pack sitting right back here in attendance. He's got the property at 1225. His sister has the property at 1235, and we've got that listed with our company. You know, that's what we're kind of looking at, is doing something as far as Mr. Boudicca, that's got the crossing on the green duplexes. We're thinking of something like that going in on the property right there. We think it'd be very beneficial to the, not only to Ms. Lackey, but to the surrounding landowners that have their property up for sale at the current moment, and help them get it pushed through as well.
What are all those other ones zoned? The ones that you mentioned, the 12?
1290,
I can't see that.
you're fine. 1290 is on MF3. I believe it was grandfathered in, but the trend is, like I say, they, and then the house that's right, we've got it right on ours at 1295. The house that's right beside it, the one that's right after it is a rent house as well.
You mentioned 12,
They're all for sale.
you
Those
mentioned,
are all for sale except for the Eubanks, which is right beside 1295.
you mentioned 1225 and 1235.
Yes,
Correct?
correct.
They're currently listed as O2. That's in that blue section right below.
Office.
Yep.
And they're right there beside, you know, Mr. Boudicca and Bobby Hamilton's duplexes, which are really nice duplexes right over there.
Yep.
Any questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else to speak in favor? Anybody to speak in opposition?
Okay.
Seeing that there is none, I'll call this into commission.
This is right by me, and I think it's a great use for that property. I think it'll make it a great, addition to that area, especially with the crossing on the greens. I mean, those houses that are there, especially if they're willing to sell like that, I think it's a great idea.
So Brian, under the staffing conditions, you mentioned, or someone on the staff mentions, the combining of property would allow for a road to be built internally with no driveways along East German. Is that currently the plan as far as what's being proposed, or is that just a want?
Was more of a comment about if this property were conglomerated with some of the other property out there, it offers more opportunity as far as putting a more internal street and that kind of thing. Right now, this could be divided up with 6 lots on it, basically is the max you can get on it, just a duplex, because each duplex has to have a lot. So they're gonna be long, skinny lots, basically, from running east-west from East German Lane. So that's the current, if it gets rezoned R2 right now, you can put 50-foot wide lots. So that's basically the configuration. As I pointed out to the south, that Kevin Boddicker property, Bobby Hamilton, those duplexes were done with that has a multifamily zoning, so that way they can put them in the arrangement that they're at. So duplex makes it a little bit harder in that they have to be on individual lots. So that was the point that was trying to make, was that if you're gonna do individual lots, you really need more of a street to service all those. If you do it as multifamily, then you can have internal drives and it doesn't have to have individual lots served by a public street.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, he makes a valid point. 6 drives off of East German Lane is gonna
Yeah.
be
Terrible.
That's true. I see that, yeah.
Terrible, terrible.
Yeah, offer less curb cuts on German Lane. I guess this does that.
I don't know why they couldn't put just one straight down the middle and do duplexes on each side. Of course, they're not asking me my opinion either.
Yeah.
You
Mine
could do
neither.
duplexes.
Hmm?
The duplexes is
Do
like the
3
most,
duplexes
the biggest,
right
like
here
with
and 3 right here,
multifamily
and
three,
here's
that
one in the middle.
could be anything or.
I guess we could ask him if there's.
He's asking for R2.
Now, the other trick to that too is single family, you get basically, well, it's double duplex, but the magic blue books will tell you, it's either if you look at it as a single family doubled up, it's gonna be 20 vehicle trips per day. So the driveways aren't gonna generate that much, traffic impact as far as their East German Lane. I just point that out. I mean, that'd be the max. Otherwise, you can look at a 6.67. That's the other way the books swing it, is traffic generation per day. So that'd be, 13, 14 trips per day. 14 to 20, basically, is what you're looking at per driveway. So even if there were driveways out there, it wouldn't be the end of the world. That was just kind of our pointing out that if this property were conglomerated, it opens up a lot more options. So anyway, I just point that out.
It is kind of tough to get in and out of like Harps and right there where that crossing is already kind of right there. That'd be my only issue, especially, I live in Brookfield, which I go that way to get to my subdivision, but it might be kind of hard getting in and out of there, especially if you're trying to cross both lanes and having six drive. That'd be my only issue. People pulling out of Harps, there's a lot of wrecks right there.
It's way up here.
55.
If I'm looking at that correctly.
Sure. Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right. There's a motion on the floor to approve. Has been seconded. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay. Just to keep things stirred up.
Some excitement.
If I got everybody to vote. All right.
Raise a hand.
Let's do a show of hands. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I think it passed.
Yeah.
Motion passes.
I think I'm the only opposition.
I abstained.
Right?
I abstained.
One
Oh,
abstention.
you abstained, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I just asked them to keep that in mind. They're building out the site plan. All right. Is this the last one?
Last one?
Request to rezone from R2 to MF3, 364 and 375 Dennison Street.
Brought a contingent with it.
My name is Stan Stapleton. The property in question is 364
Your
and
address, sir?
Sir?
Your address?
Oh, my address is 908 Otto Road,
Thank you, sir.
Conway, Arkansas.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. First time up here.
I know where it is.
Good.
And I'm shaking.
Ah, don't worry.
Don't.
You don't bite. We're just plain folks.
Yeah, I read the wrong one.
And I don't hear real well, and these hearing aids are going out, so if you say something, anyway, I want to thank y'all for taking the time to listen to my request. This area over there around Dennison is predominantly college students. Is where it is. It's 2 blocks from UCA. Now's a good, how can I say this? It's a good time. It's a golden opportunity for Conway, because 390 just to our north that actually butts us to the north side, rezoned from R2 to MF3. I think it was back in January the 9th. Now that is a little over an acre and a half. Ours is about an acre and a half. Little over. Both of them's a little over an acre and a half. It would be a golden opportunity for a developer to actually develop a nice apartment complex there for the housing of the students, if they could acquire both properties. And I'm sure the other one was Independent Living Services was their property. But with both properties, if the buyer, I don't have a buyer. I had one last year, but I don't have a buyer at this point in time. I don't know what's happened with Independent Living Services, but that is a good section of ground there that make an actually good development. Now, the traffic, most of the kids in that area, we've had a daycare there for 23 or 25 years? 25 years. Most of the kids in that area are either walking to school or they're riding their bike. Traffic is really, it would have a minimum impact on the traffic. And that also eliminates or alleviates some of the traffic problems that UCA has at this moment. Now, we come up last year. I was not pushing it through. made an offer on the property by a developer, and we were denied in city council, which I'm sure all y'all know that. And it was over fear of flooding issues. Now, we have a site plan that addresses those issues, and we're prepared to address it tonight or during city council or with the city. I mean, just whenever it needs to go. But we have addressed those issues. And, well, I guess I thank you for your time.
At a high level, can you talk to us about what your plan for the drainage issue is?
What now, sir?
At a high level, can you talk to us about what your plan for the drainage issue is?
We were looking at 2 stories apartments, 24 units on the property that I have. Mr. White with Tim Tyler, which is sitting behind me, he has a sketch and he has the drawings on this, and he's gonna get up right after me. Like I say, I'm nervous, guys.
No, don't be nervous.
It appears that what the city requires, there's a fear that it's not going to be sufficient to prevent additional stormwater problems. So have you gone over and above what the city requires?
Yes, ma'am, the city requires a 25-year storm, and if we just take this one lot and just a development, it'll be kind of catty corner across the Dennison Martin intersection there, that one building apartment complex. If we do the same thing here, we can go 3 stories, and we would have plenty of just ground for detention. We could do 100-year detention on the site. I mean, that's how much.
Okay.
green space that we would have, you know, we can only do 32 units on the site. That's
Okay.
32 units and 63 parking spots.
Is this still one level, or, I mean, is it two levels, or?
It would be 3 levels.
3 levels, okay.
So essentially, to address the drainage concern, you've just built a larger retention.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
We can keep everything in our development going into a detention pond. So-
Got it.
So you would go from 2 to 3 levels?
Yes, ma'am, 3, and like I said,
To have more.
we could even go up to a 100-year detention if there's, like I said, we would have enough space on the site to accommodate that.
That seems to be what the biggest issue was and why the council voted it down.
I wasn't prepared. I'll be quite honest with you. It's why the city council turned it down.
Pardon?
I thought, I heard you say that why the city.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
I was
sorry. I
talking
thought
to
you was
them.
addressing me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we haven't brought it back into council yet, so, sorry.
So just thinking about it out loud here. Oh, no, how about let's hear people before I
Yeah.
just start spitting out my own.
There might be some
There might
opposition
be
out
some
there.
good people.
Is there anybody else to speak in favor of this?
Okay, so he's gone from a 2 to a 3 story.
Seeing if there is none, anybody speak in opposition?
Hello, my name is, a little close. My name is Spencer Pearson. I live at 831 Ash Street. I'm here to represent my father, Rod Pearson, who lives at 2620 Bruce Street. First, I want to thank you guys for listening to us and taking the time to hear our concerns. I'd like to read a letter really quickly, just really quickly, and then I'll hand out that letter to you all. And I also have some photos that I'd like to pass out. So regarding the drainage concerns for rezoning application at 364 Denison Street, and I'll apologize if I stutter a couple times. I've been working a lot lately and haven't time to rehearse it quite as much as I probably should have, but we'll get there. The property at 364 Denison and the adjacent vacant lot to the west are being proposed to be rezoned and subsequently developed. At this time, we wish to sensitize the city and the Planning Commission to the presently existing drainage problem in the area that would be severely aggravated by further high-density developments without substantial drainage improvements being made in the concert with any development of the property. Since 1986, Massey Properties has developed all land within the 2600 block of West Martin Street in the north, Bruce Street in the south, Hubbard in the west, and Denison in the east. There are only 2 original properties not owned by Massey Properties remaining. These are 2623 West Martin Street, owned by Mr. Marcus Maltbia here, and 2620 Bruce Street, which is owned by my father. With each new development, Massey Properties has raised the ground between 3 feet, between 1 and 3 feet. So the 2 before mentioned properties are now on the low point of the block and subsequently flood before any other areas. I know this to be true because my father's called me in the middle of the night and said, hey, be on standby. If we get a couple more inches of rain, we might have to move all the furniture upstairs so we don't ruin everything. Okay, Dad. West Martin Street between Denison and Hubbard is only the culvert between Denison, or no, I'm sorry, West Martin Street between Denison and Hubbard is only 13 feet wide with open ditches and inadequately maintained culverts. Under present conditions, the area of 2623 West Martin Street is prone to flooding with the excess runoff first going to the south onto Mr. Maltbia's property and then onto my father's property from there. The majority of the entire block is being served by one 18-inch storm drain on the east side of 2620 Bruce Street. Any additional water runoff generated by a large high-density development at 364 Denison would undoubtedly contribute stormwater runoff going to the south, creating intolerable conditions and bringing irreversible damage to the low-lying homes of Mr. Maltby and my father. We therefore respectfully ask the City of Conway to make approval of the aforementioned rezoning request by the property owners of 364 Denison Street contingent upon necessary drainage improvements being made to ensure that no additional excess runoff adversely impacts the property of my father or Mr. Maltbia. This should include improving the ditches along the 2600 block of West Martin Street. So inherently, we're not opposed to the property being developed at all. You know, we are all for the city growing as we need to. We just want to make sure that his property is going to be all right and not flooded out. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And I have some photos again, and I'd like to hand out the letter that I just read to you all.
I think we talked about this whenever we approved the MF3 just to the north of this property.
Mm-hmm.
Has it gotten any worse since that was built?
I know that I'm not exactly, I can't speak for you. I know that it's just bad. That's all I know.
So in January, we approved that property just north, the MF3, just north of this property that he's trying to rezone.
Right.
And I don't know, is it even built yet?
No,
Nothing's happened.
Okay, I was wondering if, like, both
that,
of
that
those going
property
in.
shouldn't really have any impact toward Martin Street. But
Okay,
the Stapleton's property that they're trying to rezone, it's gonna have a major impact.
right.
We got some pictures here.
Yeah, just to clarify.
Just kind of show you what's going on.
We've had plenty of rain, we ought to be able to.
Yeah, true.
The first one's here, Mr. Mulvey's property. All around his property, I think the last one's his backyard. And then that's right in front of my father's property. And then these are pictures of the ditches surrounding my father's property. Cheers.
And do we have the, I mean, that's in the comments where there's supposed to be a.
Drainage report.
Yeah, drainage report. Do we know
The
what that-
engineer's drainage report, do we have that?
That was him.
Yeah, is that what,
You need to overhead
I haven't
project.
put it together, it's,
too
yes,
comprehensive
it's
to present?
calculation, but not a, not a narrative. It's,
So does that report address what they presented here today?
We can get enough detention on our site, but we're not gonna increase the runoff coming off.
Going down to their property?
That's the problem. We got major drainage. And like he said, we're not opposed to what they're trying to do.
Right.
But the major concern is, let's get this drainage
Okay.
under control.
Definitely.
And like I say, you know, they steady building up around me, and they're raising the land.
Right, and it's
I
gonna keep
raised
turning
my
here.
land, I had to raise my land in the back, I raised it in the front, I can't raise it.
Right.
When you were here, you came in January, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And did they clean out that ditch like?
I haven't talked to the
That's what-
Staples, nobody's talked to me about it.
No, I'm talking about after January when we talked about, it. Has anybody cleared that out? Cause you wanted, ask them to clear that out.
Well, clearing it out ain't gonna really do no
Because it's still
good, they gonna really have to do a lot of major drainage.
That's what they got right now.
Replacing those culverts.
The culverts, everything's in there. It's just,
I know he's-
it's shot,
That's what they.
it's no good.
Yeah.
And that was in front of your house, that,
Yes,
And this one, this one, is directly across from daycare.
That's Massey's property. That's that's coming down in front of my house right there, that's flooded. And one of them is the backyard, you see that, look like a little river out back. That's going over on Rod Pearson right there,
Yeah.
that right there.
Okay, so this is your father's.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said the drainage report addresses all of this?
Yeah, that's not,
We can
that's
keep
not
our
very much
site
at all.
increasing the drainage.
You can, but you can't,
We can't fix what's already there.
you can't do.
But see, that's what the city council was saying, they asked that engineer they had last meeting
To prepare.
about the pre-existing problem we had. He didn't even have an answer for it.
Yeah. Says an engineer.
And still, they don't have an answer for
Yeah,
it.
that's one the city of Conway does.
Well,
It said
well,
that
no, this is developed.
Said at the last city council meeting that there
Is
was,
he talking about Finley?
there was
Is
supposed
it-
to be an engineer's drainage report.
Finley Street.
It's too comprehensive to go over.
Cool.
Can I address carbon flooding issue?
Yep, hang on just a second.
Hold on.
Gotcha.
So he's saying
It's all right.
Here we go.
fix the issue that we have.
Shed some light for us.
I think what they're really worried about, what I've been able to tell just from when I kind of went out there, took the call, went out and kind of did some research for it and talked to Finley about it. Our ordinance currently, the question at hand last time was what our ordinance requires us to burden them with. Our ordinance requires that the detention be designed for a 25-year storm, but you can only increase, the eventual outfall only has to be restricted to the 10-year storm pre-development. So if it got basically all we're required to make them do is hold the 10-year storm to where they do not increase that from the pre-development amount. What they're saying here is they're going to effectively design a larger detention structure to get approval. We can't by ordinance require that. We can only have it's being updated right now and should be finished by the beginning of this next coming year. But they've kind of talking about the two separate issues of increasing you can either, per ordinance again, you can either increase the downstream capacity, which in this case You can clean those culverts out that are running along, is that Martin Street, I think? You can clean those out, but eventually they're going into a 15-inch culvert running down Hubbard, all the way down to the box culvert where the new vet clinic is there on College. That's a burden they probably could not afoot. That would probably be a city street improvement based. I mean, they could probably do the culverts, but when it came to running that much pipe size increase, but we can
Is
look.
that something on the city's radar? I mean, have we got plans? Is there
I
any
haven't
plans
seen
to
anything
do
on
anything?
Hubbard.
Just even.
I haven't seen anything on Hubbard. For the question of this development, though, if we can look at their plans, we can only require them to do what the ordinance gives us the power to require them to do, but we do hold the right to, I guess, do the best we can to prevent them from negatively affecting their downstream neighbor.
Now, what's the update that you said this coming at the beginning of the year?
We're in the process of updating the drainage ordinance.
Oh, the ordinance, okay, so it
Yes.
still won't.
So it will be basically a more rigorous, more hydraulically and hydrologically accurate method for analyzing these types of issues to where we can be more confident that we are protecting the downstream neighbor. Gives us a little bit more accuracy, a little bit more teeth than the current ordinance
So right now,
has.
you couldn't do anything really?
We can hold them,
Just the 10-year
yes, they can, and,
to the current ordinance?
you know, and the last time we really didn't have a plan to look, now if they can provide us a plan to look at, then we could give more expertise.
You just can't make them do it.
Right. If we can see their plan, then we can look at it and verify that, yes, this plan is viable and should protect their downstream neighbor. But right
But
now,
right now, you only have up to 10.
right now, all we're seeing is a request to rezone, so we really can't make any determination from that.
But to his point, if they have the space, or if his plot says they have the space to house up to a 100-year plan, then that should be more than adequate for at least what they should be held accountable for.
But there's nothing
You're
that
gonna
says
have
that
to
they
review
have
this.
to do
Yes.
that.
I
This-
understand.
any plan that comes
I
to
understand
development
that's not what
review, yeah.
that's not what they should be held accountable for, but if they have that space on there.
Right, we couldn't make them, but if they
Right.
did provide that.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yes. It would,
So do you anticipate after the first of the year, you will have that
we would have a more,
ability to
be more, yes.
enforce it?
To more ability to enforce it, yes.
Can I say something? What I think we need to do is that y'all need to come up with a plan, get with me, Rod, as together, city, and we all get together and come up with a plan about this water situation. I mean, me personally, I don't wanna go on ifs, that might work, or this might
Right,
work.
right.
I need something definite, because this is a water issue, and it is bad.
Right.
And what we need to do is all get together. I don't mind. I don't have no problem.
You come by the
I
street
mean, you
department,
know,
and we
I'm
can.
talking about all of them. You
And
know,
as
get
far as
together
the street
and
improvements,
try
we can
the
talk with
street
you about it.
department as well. And let's get with a real plan with this.
Right.
And then we can, cause we're not opposed. Keep that in mind.
Right.
All we have a problem with is the drainage. And we all need to get together and get this straight.
Right.
And then when we get this straight, then we all can come in here and maybe this will get approved or whatever. I don't know.
So I have a quick question for Mr. Stapleton. So right now, you said you don't have a buyer.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Neil.
Okay, so the developmental time frame, is it based, so once this is approved, are you already prepared to?
We would like to sell. I mean, we've been there 27 years, 26 years. We would really like to sell it. We're tired. Now, I do have some insight on the flooding. If y'all would, I said earlier I could address it.
Yeah.
Either in this meeting or prior meetings. They got pictures.
Whoever bought this, Brian, whoever bought this would have to come before development review
Yeah.
Right.
and the city engineer.
Before they even begin breaking ground, right?
They're all same type of.
Take one and pass it down.
No, we are going, well, I'll wait till they all get passed out before I start talking.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
You can keep that.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, now the first page, y'all see a map that's got where Sugar Bear Child Care is, 2623, which is Marcus's, and 2620, and I won't take much of your time. We're gonna breeze through these real quick. On the next page is the National Weather Service. This is right off their webpage. Areas of heavy rain on October the 11th through the 17th of 2017. I started researching this when we were denied last year. Now flip to the next page, that's just with it. I left it there. But on page 4, given all the rain, flooding was almost non-existent locally. That changed on the 15th. Now on the next page, you'll see where it's highlighted. We had 4.10 inches of rain in Conway, Faulkner County, in between 6:04 and 9 a.m. that morning. That is the biggest rain event we've had in the past year. Now, if you flip the next page over, you'll see where I screenshot my phone, August the 15th, 2017, 8:50 up the top. Now, the flash flood warning, that little red thing runs across the screen, so I had to screenshot it twice, which will be on the next page, which will show you 6:04 a.m. Until 9 a.m. And go to the next page. Now, this actually come off the city engineer's website, and all it does is show, it was a link, it's from FEMA, and it's an area of minimum flood hazard. I just thought I'd throw that in there. Now, on page 9, August the 15th, 2017, 8:33 a.m., that was in the middle of this flash flood warning. Tucker Creek, you have photos of Tucker Creek, it is running full. That's where everything goes from Hubbard, Martin, all in that area. The same time frame, August the 15th, 2017, 8:35, this is page 10. That's what our ditches look like. And no, I don't want to flood anybody, and we're gonna hold this to a higher standard. But now this is just a 15-inch culvert on page 11. That's to the south of Martin. As they stated, it is a 15-inch culvert. This is on page 12. That is the same 15-inch culvert, but notice the time and the date. That was in the middle of our flash flood warning when we had 4.10 inches of rain in 3 hours. Page number 13, August the 15th, that is the culvert on the south side of Martin Street that goes into Hubbard that runs to Tucker Creek. Page 14, 15-inch storm drain. This is the one that's on the north side of Martin Street. Now, this was not during the rain, obviously. But the next picture is during that rain, if you'll note the time and the date at the top. That was still during the flash flood warning. This is a relief culvert on page 16 that runs diagonally from south of Martin to north of Martin. And if I'm wasting y'all's time, I'll shut up, or we'll keep going. Here's that same relief drain the morning of. It's kind of in my binder. You can see the date and the time. It's still August the 15th, 2017 at 8:18 a.m. And that is actually, that's the outlet. And it looks like it's getting water, but the next page, there was no water in that ditch. All you're seeing is the water that was on the north side of Martin. And that is relief covered from south to north to help them out. Now, this is a concrete ditch that's Greg Massey. He installed just east of Rod Pearson's property. It's 48 inches wide, and this is a generic picture. But the next one is during August 15, 2017 at 8:42 a.m. during the flash flood warning. It is running water, but it is not running capacity by no means.
Now, is this a picture of the house that's in question? In the
That Rod,
background?
no, this is actually an apartment that you're seeing on the left-hand side of the page. If you see the wooden fence down there on the right, that is actually the back side of Mr. Pearson's property. It turns into a chain link fence as it gets closer to Bruce. Now, this here is from Hubbard Street. This is in between 314 and 316. This is, if you'll look, there's a fence in the background. Y'all should be highlighted. It's kind of hard to see. That is Mr. Marcus's fence. And if you'll notice, it's still during the flash flood warning when we had 4.10 inches of rain in 3 hours.
This is the back side of his,
That would be the west side of Marcus's property.
okay.
And I couldn't get on the other side of the fence to take pictures. Number 22. Now here's Bruce Pearson. This is Rod Pearson's property. It's labeled here on the right. There's a ditch coming down through here to this curb inlet on the back side. It's still during the flash flood warning. There is no water.
So, I'm going to stop you for a brief second here. I mean, they're obviously showing us pictures with
I haven't seen them. Yeah.
boatloads of flooding in their area. You're showing us pictures with no flooding in the area.
Okay.
So there's some truth somewhere in the middle, right?
Yes, sir.
Your side, their side, somewhere in the middle. I think our biggest concern is how are we going to address and minimize that concern moving forward? And I do appreciate all of those.
Yeah.
More pictures, the better, always helps. Outside of maybe you want to go into more depth on the retention pond that you're building onto the proposed lot, and the proposed changes to the lot. That way, maybe we can get a better understanding of the full picture.
Yeah, like I said, we would be able to,
Come on up to the microphone, if you will.
yeah, there's like I said, once we go 3 stories with apartments, 32 units is all we can get on the site, and there's plenty of room on the site to get like I said, we could get a detention pond, a 100-year storm to funnel everything from the site into our detention pond, and then slowly release it at the 10-year or whatever rate. There's enough room on the site to do that, is what I'm getting at. So we can, what's coming off the site now will come off the site once it's developed. It's what I'm saying. As far as problems out there now, that's nothing we can do about. It's kind of what I'm getting at. But we can address our property, our site. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Could we talk, you gave us a diagram earlier. Does it show, are you sloping up, or like, are you building up, or?
Well, I guess it's kind of hard to show on this, but the ground is sloping kind of from Denison back toward Hubbard, I guess toward the west there. But also it's coming a little bit to the southwest toward Martin, so we would put a detention pond kind of in the southwest corner or the west side, and we would bring everything into the Martin Street ditch there.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you, so
Well,
you'll
which
have
it's kind of doing that now.
But you'd have to build it up to
Yes, ma'am.
get those 3 stories.
We would be built up a little bit, but there's a foot or two we can get to, like I said, our pipes would be in the bottom of the Martin Street ditch, so we're coming down there.
Now, I have an estimate to have those ditches, to have the trenches, here, I'll pass it around if y'all want to see it.
You can just talk to us about it.
This is estimate for cleaning out the ditches along Martin Street from the intersection of Denison Street to the intersection of Hubbard Street. This will include both the north and south side of Martin Street. All debris will be removed from site. This is Vanco Incorporated. They'll come out with an excavator. I have tried to clean these ditches out before, but Marcus will not allow it.
No, does that?
No, we're not gonna get into an
Yeah.
argument here.
But, okay,
Just go ahead.
but if I can get an okay, I will hire this guy and he will clean out both sides of the ditches. And that will relieve some of the problem immediately.
Let me understand something here, and I might have zoned out in some part of it, but you're gonna build these apartment complexes and then sell them?
He wants
No,
to
ma'am.
sell them.
No, ma'am.
You wanna, okay, walk me down this path. What are we doing? He doesn't have a buyer right now, so.
He used to, last year when he came before
Okay,
us.
yeah.
He no longer has a buyer. He
Uh-huh.
wants to get it rezoned so he can sell it under that zoning
Uh-huh, I get that.
and let the new buyer.
Okay, so how do we know that that's what the new buyer's gonna wanna do?
Right.
Correct.
Right. Well, they have to come back to
They had to come
us.
back anyway.
To an extent. I mean, if we,
You have to go
if,
before the
back
city
if we had it
engineer and
rezoned.
development review.
yeah, if we rezone it, as long as they fit within those requirements, they do not have to come back within us outside of Finley signing off and the planning department
Yeah.
signing off, that
Everybody's-
they've met all of
the
those
city and
checklists.
everybody's got to approve it.
Yeah,
That's the part I don't have a comfort level.
correct.
The city
Can we
can't,
bring this back into committee, or
Yeah.
we?
oh, I thought we were back in committee. I'm sorry. I
Well,
thought we
we
were
asked him
just
a question
asking
and brought him
questions.
back in.
We did?
I don't really wanna talk about
Yeah.
it until we bring it back in.
We didn't bring it into
Yeah.
committee back.
Any more questions for
Stan?
these guys?
No, but we gave him more than 10 minutes, guys, and the
Oh,
opposition
I'm
has
sorry.
a question.
Yeah, if he wants to talk, I'm all for it, but
All right,
I
we'll
don't
give them
know
one,
about it until
we'll
they
give them
come
one
back.
more shot.
Appreciate it.
Come on up,
Yes, sir, come
Spencer.
on.
Just really quickly, I just wanted to speak about the cleaning out. My father's very meticulous and OCD man with his house. He keeps everything always prepared and always, worked on, and especially the ditches, even though he doesn't own them. He goes out there and rakes them meticulously and keeps them cleared. And just when the rain's coming down so hard and it washes so much debris in there, he'll be out there clearing debris in the middle of the storm. So I don't know if clearing, having it just kind of clept once a week or once a month is really going to do it, just from personal experience. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
You.
All right. Any more comments from you guys? All right, let's call this in commission. All right, guys, let's,
That's what I have a problem with.
Let's see what you
The city can't
guys-
enforce it right now. They don't have an owner who, I mean, they can have every intention in the world of doing 100-year, but the new owner may not feel that way about it.
so the property just to the north of this is the same situation.
Yeah.
But I think it would exacerbate the problem.
Conway downtown has flooded for years.
Yep.
We've complained, we've yelled, we screamed. I think y'all got some plans now with the new Markham Street corridor to do something about drainage downtown. It's the city's problem. It's not this guy's property owner's problem, other than keeping the status quo of what is coming off his land now. That's all he's responsible for, and whatever provisions they put on him. If somebody wanted to rezone something downtown, because it just doesn't make any sense that we wouldn't allow them to do it. Is this proper use of that land? Everything else around there is MF3 or high density stuff. It's proper use of the land.
Right.
The city, the engineers, they need to get together and put this on a priority list, just like they're doing on our roads, and make time and set a time to improve it and do it right.
But
All that
should
we can hold him accountable to is the water that is running off his land now does not need to be any more after whatever's developed is
I
developed.
get what you're saying, but should we change this land now before the city, because in 4 months or whatever, the city is going to make provisions.
Well, that guy's gonna have to go through that review, and hopefully by then, he will have that done.
Whoever buys it has to know that, right?
That's true, I mean,
If it was going
unless
through
they started
revision
now.
review right
and have-
now, it
Yeah,
would be under the current one.
That's what I'm
Hopefully, we get the new rules in place that are gonna be more stringent according to the engineer. So they're gonna have to go through a more stringent review than what he would do if he had a plan to build it
unless they
right
start
now.
building in the next 4 months.
I just think that,
I mean,
right.
That's what I'm saying.
Either
I
way,
think-
the current
Either way,
city,
they're still gonna have to go through city engineers and whatever
Right.
plans we have in place. I think it's proper use of the land, but yes, the city and the engineers need to do something and fix this problem, because that's just an old area that's kinda low, and those drainage ditch are just out of date. That's just all it is.
So outside of the drainage issue, because I agree with Brian, while I agree that some form of multifamily is appropriate in the area at UCA, high student traffic, foot traffic, all that good stuff, I'm not necessarily sold on the M3 density, even though there is a spot to the north that we've talked about before, that we have approved before. I'm not necessarily sold on the density. I wasn't then. I'm not necessarily now. There probably needs to be more of a buffer in between some of those sections of the residence. So those are my concerns, outside of the drainage, which is what is.
I mean, there's apartments right up there at the,
You're
on the roundabout.
and I'm fine with multifamily. I have no issues with that.
No, I mean, there's multi-story apartments up the corner on the roundabout. I mean, you're just,
Yep.
yeah, you're just 2 blocks away from that, basically.
Yep.
I think the
You like
more
the
development in
mixed
this
sign
area
with
is the only
multifamily,
way
I'm
this
just-
drainage gets fixed.
That's exactly right.
Mixed use.
Because without any development in that,
It's just gonna remain
there's no
status
fix.
quo.
It's just,
Well, there's
oh,
no guarantee that that's gonna.
there is guarantee. They
uh,
get to go through engineering staff review and make it more strict than what is there now.
Well, if the ordinance doesn't change, it's still under the same ordinance.
That's, I mean,
No, they're
that's only if
putting
they
the ordinance
get the
into-
property sold and get the permits and start within the next 4 months, which is highly unlikely.
Just to get it sold is gonna take, yeah, 2 at minimum.
What's the chance of the city being able to fix, I mean, we even have a clue that this will even be addressed at any, it's not even on the agenda, correct? Nothing.
I mean, it's not this man's job to worry about with the city. Oh, we're trying to decide, is this appropriate use of the land?
Right.
The city's gonna, I mean, the city's gonna hold him to the standards that no more water should come off his land than what's currently coming off.
Right.
Which is the best you can do.
No matter who builds on this.
Right.
Now, the surrounding neighbors, if they have issues and the city's not fixing them, they need to contact their council people and address them. That's what city government's for.
Right.
But this, if we change this to be multifamily and we think that's a good use for the land, or whether we don't, that's our issue here tonight.
So I have a question. In the staff recommendation, it says, when they recommended, however, assures that no additional drainage problems will create must be addressed, right? So we're saying they're gonna build it up. They're gonna have to build it up. Can we say with assurance that building it up and whatever they're gonna do drainage pond wise is not gonna make the issue worse? If we're saying here, we have to address it, it has to be addressed, and they're saying they're gonna build it up, can you do one without the other?
I think that's inherent in the obligation.
There's nothing that we
You
can
can't build anything on the land without, that's the responsibility of any development, that's the responsibility of the developer, that you can't make the land, the drainage any worse than what you have. You can only improve it, basically.
Your post-development discharge cannot increase.
That's right.
Technical term.
There you go.
Thank you, Brandon.
We need some technicality.
Any more discussion? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
There's a motion to approve. Delencia has seconded. Is there any more discussion? Let's call this to a vote.
Probably show of hands.
I'd like to have a show of hands for my vice president. All those in favor?
You talk me into it.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
I don't want. I'm thinking of the fact that it can't happen in the next 4 months, or I would be opposed.
It's the city council's problem now.
Yeah, but I guarantee you
And
they won't.
they've denied it twice.
They won't, I bet they won't pass it.
I bet they
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a
Hey,
motion
you
to
want,
adjourn.
let's give him.
Hey.
Motion on the floor that we adjourn.
A second. There you go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You're taking my job away from me.
Sorry.
Brooke.
He's got it.
Hey. I got some other